The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. There was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem by the sheep gate there is a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew he had been there a long time, Jesus said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I am making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat, and walk." And once the man was made well, he took up his mat and began to walk. Now that day was a Sabbath, so the Jews said to the man who had been cured, "It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your mat." But he answered them, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take it up and walk'?" Now the man who had been healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had disappeared in the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who made him well. Therefore the Jews started persecuting Jesus because he was doing such things on the Sabbath. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So to appreciate this encounter, it's helpful to have kind of a visual picture of what's going on here at the temple. So the temple was divided into all these areas. And one of the areas is the one that Jesus enters into and encounters this individual. And that area had all of the people who were frail, elderly, sick, invalided, who were hoping and waiting for healing. It's one area. Over in another area, there was an area where the scribes, the religious authorities, they sat and taught. And then another area is where all the animals would have been taken to be sacrificed for all the different festivals. So you have all of these different areas in the temple. Now what's tragic about this scene is that all of this religious activity, the scribes teaching, the animals being sacrificed, doesn't produce any healing. We still have all of this big collection of the sick, the frail, the elderly, the invalid. So all of this isn't accomplishing anything. It's making the temple holy, but it's not making the people holy. Into that environment comes Jesus, and he encounters this individual. John wants us to understand some things about this encounter, so he paints a picture of this man who's been waiting 38 years. Now, the culture would have understood that. That's a whole generation. That would have been a whole generation, has been sitting here waiting and nothing has been happening. So what is his hope, this individual who's been waiting? So the legend was that, you can imagine they would have these pools, stone pools, and the legend was, if the water was stirred in the pool, it meant that an angel had brushed by with its wings. And if you got in the water right there, you would encounter the angel and be healed. It's a lottery. One person gets healed if they get there fast enough before the angel leaves, you know. So it's very much like the culture that Pope Francis has been describing. We're fragmented, we're separated from each other. The weak, the frail, the elderly have been siloed, set apart. We have religious activity going on that doesn't affect people, doesn't change their lives, doesn't give them hope, doesn't give them nourishment. And he said, and then we're hanging on to lottery tickets we picked up at 7-Eleven, hoping that we'll win the big prize and we can escape life and go on to some personal individual dream. So it's very contemporary when you look at this scene. And it's an affront to Jesus. It's a huge offense to him because of the neglect, the fragmentation, this sense of futile dreams. So immediately he steps in and, this is over. This is going to end. Get up, walk. Let's change this right now. So what he does is he brings this face of compassion, the face of the mercy of God, to bear on the life of this man immediately, at whatever cost, because it triggers this resistance and this the desire to kill him. So right away, but you can see, I don't care about that. You need to experience the merciful face of God. And I think what Pope Francis is asking the church to do is to be that. Quit getting distracted with irrelevant issues and be the face of the merciful God somewhere. Touch somebody and show them the mercy and kindness of God. Show them that there is a God who cares, and it's not a lottery. You don't have to wait and win the prize. You matter today and now. So that's really the mission that he's sort of presented and offered to the church and said, this is what we're called to be, and all of us can do that in some form. In some ways, we can all present the merciful face of God to the world. So let's offer our prayers now that we can be encouraged by how our lives have been touched to bring that same experience of mercy to others.